Hello and welcome. I'm really excited to share with you the first challenge. This is to go alongside my Industrial Grunge kit that I've released in April, and throughout April in my Facebook group Non-Stop Papercrafts I'm going to be hosting a few challenges. There'll also be some freebies available. First thing I'm going to do is share the freebies with you. You can pick them up either in my Facebook group or from my Ko-fi site. I know there are some people that don't use Facebook or find it tricky to download from Facebook, so they are available on my Ko-fi site still for free. You just put in a 0 when it asks you to put an amount in, and you can pick these up there. So there are 3 pages for you to play around with. We essentially have different size tags and some different size windows. We've got some clocks that are hole reinforcers. On the second page we've got again different size tags. This time instead of frames we've got different sized cogs, and these are for the challenge, so it'll make sense in a moment. We also have a set of keys, and on the final page we've got some smaller elements that are in the main kit. She's actually not in the main kit, but I've kind of used the idea of having the kind of paper doll people in the freebies as well. We've got some other different elements, so again lots of cogs and wheels and things in all various stages of rust up the side. We've got a couple of the book corners here. We've got a clock piece, glasses, moustache, and these words are actually in the main kit. I have just sort of shrunk them down because lots of people like to use words to attach their tags and things anyway, so I thought it'd be quite nice to include those in the freebies as well. They are just in a different size. So they're the 3 freebie pages. As I said, they'll be available in my Facebook group and on my Ko-fi page. And what the challenge is to, again, help use these up, is to create what I'm calling a tunnel tag. So this is my tunnel tag. And for this one I've used the cog wheels, and I've used obviously different elements. And as you can see, as we kind of flip through, you can see different layers going throughout. Now, you don't have to have yours necessarily attached together like I have. They could also look just as good without having anything else attached. But I thought it looks quite good when you've got that tunnel effect. So last month in the Buzz into Spring collaboration that I did with Natalie, we did a page where you had a magnifying glass and then you could see through onto another page, and I really loved that idea, and I was really impressed by all of the creativity that I saw with people's ideas, and that's when I thought, well, it'd be fun to have a layering of tags. Now, when I was putting this one together, the largest cogwheel does not fit on the smallest tag, because I think ideally you probably want it this way round, so you've got the stacked tags so they get bigger, but then your window starts big and gets smaller. But the largest cog didn't fit on the smallest tag. So I could have fiddled around and shrunk it all down, but I actually still really liked how this turned out. But you can obviously have it both ways and you can still kind of flip through. I did do mine double-sided, so it is the same on both sides. But you don't have to do that again. You could just back it with some tea stained paper or book page or whatever else it is that you want on the back. I did just do it double-sided. I didn't mirror any of my images either, so you'll be able to see it a bit more with this girl. But you can see on her hair coming through here, this is obviously this side of her but on the reverse. So it doesn't mirror exactly, but I thought it really doesn't matter. Nobody is really going to take that much notice or be that bothered by it. I'm certainly not bothered by it. But yeah, so I've got them all tied to this string, and you can kind of flip through them and see them. They've all got different elements on them on each of the tags, but I thought these would just be really, really fun. So I'm going to play around with the other set this time using the square windows. Now, the largest square window does fit on the smallest tag, so I'm actually going to work backwards this time and have the biggest window on the small tag and go that way. But yeah, I just thought these would be a fun make. So this is the challenge, a tunnel tag. Right, okay, so I've just gathered all of my different bits together. Now, I did cut everything out twice because I wanted my tags to be back to back. Originally when I did it, I don't know how well you can see this, but I've got like a kind of tea stained effect. So I did print on both sides. But it was then when I was thinking, well, when I cut the window out, I mean, I know it doesn't really matter, you're not really going to see the back, but I just liked the idea of it being back to back. So I did end up cutting it out twice so that I can stick them both together. So the first step is to start with the largest window. So before obviously I did the largest window on the biggest tag, but I want to do it the other way around this time. So I've got my large window over here, and I did cut this out with my Cricut. I did not cut this by hand, but you can see this is actually a perfect fit. This just fits brilliantly in the middle of this tag. So what I did was very carefully hold this down. It was a lot easier with the cog because these are quite a thin frame compared to the cog. I'm just going to draw or trace where the inside is. So I'm sorry, I know my hand's in the way, but I'm just trying to follow the frame as best I can without it moving too much and going around there. So there is a pencil line there. I appreciate it's probably a bit difficult for you guys to see. Now, because I'm going to do this back to back, I'm going to flip this round as if it is back to back, and I'm going to put these two together. Now you can either just hold them together. I am going to paperclip them because things do move. So I'm going to put a paperclip on that side, and I'm going to put a paperclip down at the bottom, and it just holds the two pieces together while I cut out my window. So using a little craft knife, I'm going to freehand cutting it out. Now you can of course use scissors for this. I am awful at using scissors. Not much better with a craft knife if I'm completely honest, but I'm not very good with scissors at all. You do have to apply a bit of pressure depending on the thickness of the paper that you're using. I've printed all of this ephemera onto 160 GSM. I'm afraid I don't know what that is when you're in America, because it's a different weight, isn't it, that you go by. But yeah, I'm just applying a bit of pressure, turning every now and then because I just find it easier when I'm at an angle. I'm just trying to follow that pencil line as best I can. And hopefully I've gone through both sides. Excellent. So those I'm just going to put to the side because I don't need those. I'm going to put the lid on that before I cause myself some injury. And that's essentially how my window is going to look. So from there, I then went on to the next window. And again, I'm going to turn these so they're back to back. I then placed this on here, and I was lining it up with the hole. I'm actually going to untag these because I just need one of them. I was then lining it up with the hole, so I wasn't centering it, but I was just lining it up with the hole at the top, and then putting a paper clip on somewhere on the tag. It doesn't have to be anywhere particular, just to kind of hold those two together. I then picked the next sized window, which is this one, so this is just a bit smaller, and then I lifted it up. Now with the cogs, I pretty much just lined them up. Now I don't know if this has a particular orientation. I've got a funny feeling it goes that way. I literally just kept them straight, so all of the circles just kind of shrunk a little bit. But this one, I was thinking I might do skew-if windows, so that it almost looks like it's turning as we go round. So I might do it a little bit just off kilter like that. So I'm just going to hold that down, and again I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm just going to trace around the inside. Trying to make sure that it doesn't move around too much. Okay, and then I can take all this off. That one I'm going to paper clip back to that one so I don't lose it. That's going to go to one side. And now I can cut this one. So again, I'm going to have the other tag back to back. And I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, so that's that one. And then I would, first of all, just neaten that up a little bit. So then I would take this one, got the next biggest tag, and you just basically repeat. So I'm going to again line it up with the hole, not necessarily the center of the tag. I'm going to pop my paper clip on again. I'm going to take the next size window, which is this one, writing again at the top. I'm going to bring it in. And this time, I don't know, I might turn it the other way and have it going that way. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to trace around it. Now, because this window is a little bit smaller, I do actually have to move this one out of the way. So I'm just going to make sure it's where I want it to be. And I'm just going to hold it in place. Okay, so that's all my windows cut out. So the next thing I did was literally just stick my windows on and ink around the inside, and then I started thinking about where all of the other elements went. So I'm going to do a little bit of inking, and because obviously this is a dark grungy kit, I'm using ground espresso because it's very dark. Yeah, and I'm just literally going to ink around all of the insides of the frames that I've cut out, and I'm going to ink around the actual frames themselves. Now you can bulk do this and just do it all at once, or you can do it one card at a time. So that's those two, and they will obviously be going back to back. So let's stick the frames on. So obviously this is the smallest frame possible, and this is going to go on there. I'm just looking, I might just ink a little bit on the inside just because I can still see a bit of the white where the paper's been cut. Now you do have to be careful with these frames, these are quite delicate. It was much easier with the cogs because they are chunkier. Okay, so we're just going to glue on that frame. Like that. We'll do the same on the other one. Again, just give it a little bit of an ink. I mean, it is quite a dark frame anyway, so the whole frame doesn't need inking, just really those white bits around the edges. The only problem with these little fiddly bits is you do end up with inky fingers. When I was making the other one, whoops, we were actually going out for some lunch, and yeah, I just had really inky fingers was desperately trying to scrub them before we went out. Luckily, I don't think anybody noticed. Right, okay, so they're my 2 windows stuck on. So then it's just thinking about what's going to go on. So last time I picked this guy for the largest card, only because he is quite tall. I mean, he could actually go on this one. Now that I'm using a smaller window, he fits quite nicely. So yeah, I might swap it around this time and maybe have her on the front. Or she could go maybe a bit further back. Yeah, so maybe I'll just change it around a little bit. I might have some cogs and bits on these because I've got these steel cogs, so I could have one of these. And obviously that one's then going to go on the opposite. And you do want them kind of overlapping the frame a little bit. So what I found easiest is I did one and then I flipped it over and did the other. So I'm going to move that one out of the way and I'm going to focus on this one first. So I've got that cog there. And on the final one, you don't really want too much coming into the window, because the bigger the window, the kind of more you're going to see. So I might have that cog. Do I have this guy in here? Let's have a think. And then, what's my next window? It'll be this one, won't it? So if I've got him there, yeah, I think I said I was going to have the guide, didn't I? I mean, does he just literally sit in the middle of the frame? Or do I have him to the side and the lady in the frame? Let's have a look. So she was going to go there on this card. So I could have her more in the middle. And then that would leave my last card, which has the biggest window, to have something else. But yeah, I think I actually quite like that. So I'm going to move that one. I'm going to take her off with her being in the middle and just put her to one side. I'm going to take this one off with him being to the side. So this is where I'm going to have these things. So this one I've already inked because this one's from the last one. So I'm just going to glue this down. And that one's going to go there in that corner. Then this guy, I'm just going to give him a little bit of an ink. Was going to be just poking up a little bit on this side. Oh, I've put glue on there. I don't want glue on all of it. There we go. So I have him poking up like that. Now I will add other things. I just want to kind of get the base of the window thing done first. So I'm going to flip this over, and now because I can see that, I can first of all just dab that just to get rid of any white, just in case you see any of that on the other side. I then lay this over the top, and now I can line these up with that one and stick them together. So I'm just going to glue this one down. And that's how I kind of get it back to back. Now obviously when I stick the two cards together, I will apply glue on the underneath of this. The only reason I've inked it is because if you saw any of the white on the other side, because like I said, they're not completely symmetrical. So when I pop this fella on, you'll be able to see some of the hat on the other side because he's not symmetrical on both sides. Oops. So let's just ink him up a bit on the head. And then apply glue this side of him and his body. And then that goes there. So that would be the mirror image. So as I say, I'm going to put this to the side for now because this is the one that I'm going to use as my base. So I'm going to put this one to the side. So we then had the next biggest card, oh sorry, tag, was this one. So again, I'm going to stick my frame on, and I'll stick the frame on both of them just because it's easier to do that bit. And this particular frame is off center a little bit, as is this one. Right, okay, so I'm going to put that one to one side for a second. We're again, we was going to have the man there, wasn't we? So I'm just going to line these two up. And again, you don't have to, but I just find it helps paper clipping them together at the top, just so that it's kind of held in place. And then I was going to put him along that side. So again, just a tinsy bit of an ink. And I'm going to put some ink behind him because obviously where he's peeking up from that window. And then I'm just going to work out where he is. So I'm gluing his hand. So I'm gluing his hand, and then it's kind of half of all of this. So about there, that's where he's going. I can now take that off. As I said, I'll continue decorating this afterwards. I just wanted to kind of show you how I set this up. So now I can bring this one back in, I can pop this on the back, and then I know where my man's going on this side. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to give him a bit of an ink. Okay, and I'm going to put that one to one side because this is the pattern that I'm following. So I put these two back together so I can again see where this is going. So I've got those two. I'm then going to bring in this one. And again, just for ease, now that the hole's lined up, I'm going to paper clip those together. Going to grab my windows, and I am going to do both of them. Although for this one, because this is a lighter card, I am just going to ink Okie dokie. Right, so we then have our lady, which again, she's just going to need a little bit of an ink. And she is going to need some inking on the back because we are going to see the back of her. Same for this one. And again, we're going to ink her back. Right, so this lady then, we were going to have up the middle like that. So we kind of need it just from whereabouts her hand is. Okay, and then I can take this off, flip this over, pop that on top. Now I have got her feet poking out the bottom. It's entirely up to you. You could snip those off. I'm actually going to keep them because I don't mind if they're dangling off the bottom. So I'm just going to line those two up. Keeps moving. And then I'm going to stick her on. So it's roughly from her waist down to the bottom of her skirt. And then, as I've said before, it doesn't obviously perfectly line up. You're going to see from behind, same as obviously when we turn it over, you're going to see the inked version of behind, but that's why we ink on the back. But yeah, that's how it's looking. So I'm going to bring these two back in. That's the one that goes there. Oh, no, that's not it. It's that one, isn't it? And then that one. So again, we just line them up and then we can do the third window. No, fourth window. Losing count. And this one is the smallest tag, but the largest window. So I'm just going to pop it in, line it up with that hole, line it up with the other tags. And then this one obviously gets the largest frame. Right, okay, so now we just need to think then of how else we are going to embellish these. So these are the tags that we've got. I'm just going to shuffle things up a little bit. So that you can see each of them. So this is what we've got so far. But then, like I said, there's lots of space sort of around that we can do. So I'm going to start off with the hole reinforcers. So they do need a little bit of an ink. And I'm going to stick these on. Now they are clocks and it could just be me being me, but I do like to check that I've got 12 o'clock up at the top. Totally not necessary. So that's that one. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, this one. So I really hope that this seems like a fun challenge. I certainly enjoyed putting the last one together. I've not made a tunnel book before. I've seen a few people making them. Natalie from Line.Arrow has done them, and it looks really, really fun. So I thought, well, I'm not sure I'm confident enough to do a whole book, but a tag is a nice small place to start and to experiment. I think possibly what I struggle with is the fact that you do have to think a few steps ahead. You do need to obviously plan out each one so you can tell what you're seeing in each frame. So that's why I find it easier to do one side and then I'll just mimic it on the other side. Right, so that's those bits. Right, now we've got some keys. Let's say security. So that's 2 black and white. Could go on there. If we put them there, we're going to be covering his face, won't we? Let's just have a look. Oh no, actually, we might be okay. So they might be able to go on there actually. So I might have them on there. But I think I also want some cheesecloth, although actually I can't put them on there because these aren't mirrored. When I do my other one, you're going to see that kind of effect. So no, I won't put them on there actually. Let's put them on a different one. So I'll have to put them on this one, I think, because then they're not interfering. But I do still want some cheesecloth. Okay, so that's going to go underneath my keys. And then I think I might have factory on here. I don't think I used any of these last time. What have we got? Records, pay, file, journal, records. See, again, it's black and white, isn't it? So I think I might have to use one of these. See, I have got keys, but I used keys on the last one, so I kind of want something a bit different. I might go with factory. They can be the factory keys, can't they? So let's glue that bit down then. Okay, so that goes on there. I'm going to ink around factory. That can be the factory keys. Right, so that's that one. Then we've got her. So I'm thinking, what do I want on this one? I quite like the moustache. I'm thinking about maybe having the moustache maybe peeking up. That could be quite fun, couldn't it? Let's do that, but that's going to need a bit of an ink because that's, oops, quite white. Let's move those out of the way. Okay, so just going to glue the bottom because the top of it is going to be peeking up. Something like that. What other words have we got? Shift, clock, steel, file, pay. Okay, maybe we just leave that one because I can put some eyelets in this one. So I'm going to keep that one as it is because it has got quite a big frame, so obviously that's taking up most of it. So let's have a play around with this one. I think this one's pretty much done, so we'll leave that one alone. So I've got some cogs, I've got some spanners. So I've already got obviously a cog here. So it's just these two really I need to do, isn't it? Right, I'm going to push some bits back because I'm kind of running out of space very quickly. So I kind of want some lighter bits on here really. So I could have that. I've got this. That could look quite cool actually. Yeah, I might layer up those bits. Yeah, okay. I'm going to stick those down. What have we got? Might just snip out industrial from here. Yeah, put an industrial there. Okay, so that's that one. So that leaves her. So we've still got spanners, I've still got some cogs. The moustache obviously needs to go on the other side. I've still got these corner things. Maybe I could use these somehow. Well, it doesn't really work because obviously we've got the snipped off corners. Yeah, so maybe we don't use those actually. Okay, so I'm thinking maybe the glasses or the wrench. See, the clock I think is too pale. We need something a little bit darker. So maybe go with the cogs then, with some cheesecloth. See, in the last one I had the cheesecloth coming out the bottom of the tag, so I think I might do the same when I'm putting this one together actually. So I'm just going to again ink the back for any bits that are kind of poking over. I'm just going to stick that on there. Do we want a word? What have we got? Shift keys, clock, steel. Steel could be good. Got payee. Yeah, I think I'll go with payee. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is I'm going to mimic this on the other side, so on the flip sides, and then I'll come back and I'll explain the next stage. Right, okay, so now I have finished decorating both sides. I've just paper clipped them together just to kind of keep them all together. So the last thing that I need to do is glue them both together. Now if I have anything that's kind of poking up, this is the time where I will then glue that back part as well. Whoops, got my nozzle stuck. So we go down here. I'll glue the whole tag, but then I'll also put some glue on these pieces here so that they then glue to the other side as well. And obviously it's just a case of lining it up and then getting that all stuck together. Okay, like that. I'm going to do the same with the next one. Now this one I have got some cheesecloth out because when I did this one I kind of put cheesecloth in between the two tags, and I wanted to do the same for this one. So I wanted some cheesecloth maybe down the side a little bit. And again, just at the top. I'm just going to glue these into place first. Oops. Okay, and then I will glue this, and I'll do the same thing. So we do the whole tag. Do her feet. And again, just lining up. Just press it all down. Now, once you have done all of this and you've glued them all together, you do have the option of sewing as well. I will sew only because I like the look, but it is optional. It's obviously not something that you have to do. So that's the next one. Okay, so now that they're all stuck down, as I said, next part is optional. I'm going to whiz over to my sewing machine. I'm going to sew around the edge of the tag only. When I did the cogs, I did sew around the edge of the window. I'm not going to do that only because this is a super skinny frame, so I'm not going to do that, but I am going to just sew all the way around the edge. Right, okay, so there they are all sewn. So the next part, again, totally optional. I have some eyelets that I'm going to add to mine. So I'm just going to pull a few out and think about where they're going to go. Now you need to think about placement because obviously you need to think about how this then looks on the other side. That's better. So now obviously this one's quite plain, so I definitely want maybe two just to the side. Then on her I might have maybe one up in that corner. Then on this one, I could again have two up on that side, and then on the final one I think three. I might do one, two, and then one up over in there. So I think that's where I'm going to kind of place them. So let's grab my crocodile and punch some holes. So I'll start with a small one. Right, so that's all of those. So the last thing to do then is just to attach them all together. Now originally I did try a bulb pin, and that's great if they're just hanging there, but if you want to sort of kind of flick through them, the hole is a bit too low, so unless you've got a really big bulb pin, that didn't work. So I found some of this in my stash, which is kind of like a hemp string, and I just kind of cut a length. I then laid these on top of one another as they would look, and then I just put the thread through. Evened it out a little bit, and then obviously I don't want it too tight up against here, otherwise I'm going to have the same problem, so I just left a bit of a gap, and then I just tie a knot. Like I said, just leaving a bit of a gap above, because you still want to be able to obviously move the tags about a bit. Okay, and then just give them a little bit of a snip above. And then that way you've kind of got your layered look, but you're still able to actually have a look through them. And I think these look really, really fab. Okay, so here are my two examples of my tunnel tags for the challenge. I'm very, very sorry about the length of this video. I know it's super long, but I wanted to show you all of the different stages so that you are able to recreate this yourself. Obviously, experiment. You don't necessarily have to have 4 tags. You may only decide to have 3 tags. I just thought it built up more layers, and I think they look really good together. I think I do prefer having the smaller tag first on top, but like I said, with the cogs that just didn't work because the biggest cog was too big for the smallest tag. But that may be then where you use 3 tags and then you put the biggest cog on the second largest tag, so it will probably fit on there. But it's up to you to have a play around. I would really love for you to take part in this challenge. Like I said, the freebies you can find in my Facebook group, Non-Stop Papercrafts, or on my Ko-fi shop. If you are participating, if you use the hashtag #IndustrialGrunge, and then I can easily find your posts. I will be having a drawing at the end of the month, so anybody that is participating and using the freebies for their projects or the paid kits, your name will be going into a drawing at the end of the month. Please just make sure that you are using that hashtag, just because it's easier for me to find you when I'm going back through Facebook. Well, I really hope that you've enjoyed this challenge. I will have the link down below to my new kit, Industrial Grunge, in case you want to go and take a look at that and purchase the full kit. This has been such a fun challenge. I think I might actually make a couple more and experiment with the different levels, or see how I can incorporate this kind of style into my project as well. Well, thank you very much everybody, and I will see you all in the next crafty video. Bye for now.